Hello and welcome. This is take number 3. I've had nothing but trouble with my video and audio today. So y'all know how I love voiceovers, so this has not been pleasant. Anyway, today we're going to be making a chair to go in our boho room box. I had this old chair and it's just a tab and slot construction, cheaply made. I got in that big box of miniatures that I showed you from eBay a little while back. So let's just get this show on the road. So I loosened all the old glue on there and sanded that off and got it ready. So all I'd have to do is pop it apart and we could start working. This is not a tutorial, okay? This is just me making the chair, and I'm showing you that I like the back where it has that little scallopy thing, and I'd like to make it so that my covering, you know, kind of has that little pattern too. So I took a piece of old wax paper, and if you can't tell, that's the one I painted the window on, but I think I might have a really cool idea for that, or part of it, so we'll see what happens. And I grabbed a Sharpie and I'm just tracing around that because I'd really want that little edge on there. So just doing that, taking my time. You know, the usual things you do. So anyway, yeah, since I was saying, this is my third voiceover of the day. I was doing it and my video editor froze up and I lost the audio. So I did it again. Just got it all ready to go. Went through it because I thought, well, I better listen to it first before I put it on YouTube because I had problems. And my video was running, or my commentary was running way ahead of my video. So we're back doing this again. So anyway, I'm just tracing the outline of the back of the chair here, and what I'm going to do is when the Sharpie dries, I'm going to take it and cut it out, and then I'm going to fold it over so that both sides are exactly equal, so I don't have a really wonky looking back. So that's what we're doing there, and I'm just putting it aside. And while I'm doing that, I decide I'm going to sand these pieces of the chair because it's obviously been around quite a while and it's kind of grungy looking, and I wanted a nice, clean, better surface at least to put my Waverly antiquing wax on, because that's what I'm going to use to color the chair. The thing I like about the antiquing wax is that all woods seem to take the color a little differently. The floor in the boho room box has lightened up a lot, so yeah, it where on some other things I've used it on, it stayed darker. And there I was just showing you the difference in where I'd sanded and where I hadn't, but I don't know if you could really tell that on here or not. So yeah, I'm just going at it. Y'all know I love to sand. I love it about as much as voiceovers. So I sped it up because it was very tedious to me and you didn't need to watch me sit there and, you know, sand in real time. So that's what we're doing. We're just sanding away here. Making sure I get the edges because I don't want them all grungy looking, but you know, it's the end grain and it's kind of hard sometimes to clean up once it gets yucky. So I did my best. And I have to say, guys, in the end, I am so pleased with the way this chair turned out. So yeah, it really turned out well. So now I'm just going to draw around my seat, and I'm drawing that out on a piece of just plain piece of copy paper, and then I will later transfer it and the seat back to poster board because I want to do some tufting on my faux leather. And this is the first time I've ever tried faux leather. I have watched some tutorials on YouTube, and there are some people who do a beautiful, fantastic job. Era from Bentley House Minis, she's amazing. I watch a lady named Gina, and I can't for the life of me think of her channel. I am subscribed to so many miniature channels, guys. If you got a miniature channel, I'm probably on it, and if I'm not, I'll find it. Yeah, anyway, so now I'm just putting the antiquing wax over, and again, I sped it up simply because you don't need to watch me go through the whole process in real time. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure I get the ends, get all the wood, because I don't want any natural wood to, you know, popping through. So that's what I'm doing. And you know, this was really a fun project up until, you know, the end when I went to convert the video and, you know, all that stuff. It was really fun. Making it, I had a blast making this chair. It was fun to take something old and, you know, see what you could do with it. See if you could make something that was very cheaply made look like something, you know, better than it is. And I think I pretty much succeeded in that. So I want to encourage all of you, if you got an old piece of furniture and don't know what to do with, don't be afraid. Just pull it out and decide what you want to do, tackle it, and succeed. Because really, I don't know what I would have done with this chair. I don't. And so I, you know, just wanted to, you know, see if I could do something. So I started using a baby wipe on the antiquing wax, and that took too much off. So I grabbed a dry paper towel, smart idea, and I start doing that on all the other pieces, and that's working really well. But the seat just was too light, so I went over the top of the seat again with the antiquing wax, and now the chair all matches in color. Hey, you can't ask for more than that, right? So I'm just wiping it down, and a lot of this video is sped up because it's just things that you don't need to watch me do in real time. So now we're back, and I'm going to start on the back and seat cushion. And here's my cardboard, and I've got a little grid drawn because I want to make it tufted. So I am gluing a small thin piece of foam that I got. I don't know, it came with something I bought, and I'm just gluing that to the back. And then the seat, I wanted a little thicker, so I used some of that I think it's cotton quilt batting, and of course I glue over it and get my glue gun or my glue bottle all full of, you know, fuzzy stuff, and then I glued a piece of the sponge over the top of that. So now I'm ready to put the fabric on, and I'm using a brown, dark brown poly cotton broadcloth type fabric, and it's not going to matter because it's never going to show. So I grab the seat back, yeah, and I'm going to start gluing that together. Again, sped up because, like I said, this is not a tutorial. This is just me making the little chair, and a lot of stuff that, you know, I've covered in other videos, and everybody out there has covered it. Most of you have probably done it yourselves, so no need to, you know, redo that. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. So yeah, I'm just gluing it on, and I'm gluing over my grid somewhat. I straightened it out in the end, it looks fine. And then I'm like looking at the top going, what am I going to do about those scallops? I really want them to show up, but I don't think it's going to work. I wasn't sure at this point. So I'm like, well, okay, here we go. We'll just, yeah, we're going to need to cut that down a little bit if we're going to turn it. And so I start cutting, and about halfway through I'm like, I don't have enough fabric to turn because I don't want to squish the foam. But I've already started, so I'm going for it because what else do you do? So yeah, so now I nipped a corner, and I'm folding that part over. And I ended up with the scallops not quite as pronounced as I wanted them, but it still worked out okay. Yeah, so I'm just making some little clips here to make turning the corners easier. And now I'm totally committed at this point, so we're gonna go for it, and hopefully we're gonna have good results, and we did. Sorry about the spoiler. But yeah, it worked out okay. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it worked out okay. And so yeah, I'm just pushing it down now, make sure everything's holding, make sure I don't have it too tight, making sure everything's all good there, and cutting off those corners and making sure they're laying down, just gluing down a little of the excess there, making sure they're nice and straight and we don't have any of those little pointy tips on them, because that ruins the look of something so fast. So yeah, just messing with corners. Just straightening up a little bit of stuff here on that, and one more quarter. And just making sure it's glued down nice and it's gonna lay good. I'm gonna look good. And now I'm happy with that. So yeah, it's best I could do. So next comes the seat, and just doing the same exact thing, just gluing the sides down, making sure the corners are good and straight and nice, and you know what you do. And the C was a lot easier because I didn't have to worry about the little scallopy things or whatever. So I'm just cutting off a little excess material there, and yeah, that's what we're doing. And that's just me being picky with the corners. So we got all that done, and now we're going to take some, I believe, no, we're going to sew through. Okay, so now I'm putting the tufting into the back and seat pieces. I'm not sure which one I have right here. It's a little hard to tell, but that's what I'm doing. I'm going in the middle of my grid lines where they meet, and I am coming up through the fabric and taking a very small stitch to the side of where I came up through and going back down and pulling it. I don't want to pull it real tight because I don't want to pull my thread through, but I want to pull it tight enough so that I have the little bumpy, tufty things in my seat and my back. So this is, I believe, that's the seat, and I'm showing those little white spots. Those are where this is not a real tightly woven material, so that's kind of showing some of the batting and foam underneath. It's not going to matter in this case because I'm doing the faux leather effect, and I don't remember if I told you in the beginning, but it's the first time I've ever done it. Sorry if I'm being redundant. Y'all know I hate voiceovers, so I'm just sticking my thread through. I've tied a knot at the end, and I'm just kind of pulling on it, and now I'm going to be taking that little stitch and going back down through, and I'm just tugging on that to make sure that it indents nicely. And I'm just going to do a couple stitches here with you. It's just to repeat the same process, and you go through each center where your grid lines meet. The nice part is, if you make a mistake doing this, you know, like you get a knot in your thread, just cut it off with a tail, glue the tail down, tie a new knot, start a new one. You don't have to unthread your needle. You don't have to try to take your stitches out. As long as you glue them down good, they'll hold. So I decided to speed this little process up because, again, it's, you know, you don't need to watch me do every single one. I'll show you the result in the end. And I'm just gluing that down to make sure it doesn't come loose. And now I'm doing the same with the other piece, and sped up, of course, because, you know, it's time consuming. This video would have been forever. As it was originally, it was over an hour, and that was just too long. So anyway, I was worried about those scallops, so I came up with an idea, and it didn't work. So I went back to just, doing what I was doing. So yeah, I was going to try to make them more pronounced by putting the thread over the top, but I didn't have near enough padding to pull that off. So now I'm just coating this with the Mod Podge so that when I go to paint it, the paint will have something to stick to, and it'll just be another way to, ensure that the tufting is gonna stick in there. I'm just going over it. I'm trying to get the Mod Podge down into all the little crevices and around the edges. So here we are. The Mod Podge is dry, and we're going to be putting on this, looks kind of like a mustard that's gotten dried. I love the color. It's the color I used in the farmhouse master bedroom. So yeah, I'm going to use that first, and I had an idea for it. I thought, that it would work with something, but later on we figure out that, it wasn't really a good idea. But so I'm doing the edges, but I'm also going around the back just a little bit, just in case I don't get it glued down really, really good and you can see a little bit. I want the back side, at least, the edges of it, to match the front side, because that's, how it would probably be. So yeah, I'm just making sure that, I get those edges good, and that I get down into all those little indents I've made now with sewing. And with doing that, you could use little beads in the middle of it to make buttons, or the little half round nail art pieces would work well. If you know how to embroider, you could definitely do some French knots in there, but I thought that this was all just too small to do any of that with, and it wasn't really what I wanted, so I just left it with just the stitches in. So yeah, I'm just now coating the other piece, and we're done with that. We're coming back now, and it's dry, and I'm putting nutmeg brown over the top. Now my original thought was that the yellow would kind of, like, I don't know why I thought it would show through a brown and just kind of, make it kind of a, I don't know, not a brown, but of course it didn't. And I tell you what, the nutmeg brown on its own was exactly the color I wanted anyway, the color I had pictured in my head, and so I wouldn't even have had to go and do that yellow, but I did. Yeah, so it's the way it goes. So yeah, I'm just making sure again I get into all those little indents and around the edges, a little bit around the back, and yeah, it's working quite well really, and it is getting the look of leather for sure. So thank you to all those talented YouTubers out there who inspired me to go ahead and try this for myself. And I really hope I'm inspiring some of you to go ahead and try new things, and like I said, find something to remake. It's so much fun. It's so relaxing, and it's so rewarding when it turns out right. And if it turns out wrong, well, it turns out wrong. You can always redo it. Yeah, so now I'm just touching up because I got my thumb in it, and honestly, if you get your finger in it and you kind of pull up or whatever, you give kind of a different texture to your faux leather. That wasn't what I was going for, but yeah, just by doing it, you can see it, and yeah, so you can texture it just dabbing your thumbprint in it. So anyway, back again. I said there's a lot of cuts in this video just simply because I'm thinking it took me 4 hours to make this chair. If you were to slow the time down, it took a long time. So now I've decided it's time to glue the chair together, and I am putting glue on the tabs like you do. So just put a thin line on there. And then I thought, well, I'll just take my finger and just, kind of rub it around, because I don't want too much glue oozing all over that I have to clean up. So I go ahead and I do that, and flip it over, do the other side. And And here's where a typical Cheryl mistake comes in. So I go ahead and I fit the tab into the slot, and this chair fits together nicely, so that's good. I know it's going to be nice and sturdy. And I put it on the table to push it all the way in, and I realize I didn't need to glue the top part of that tab. So here I am wiping the glue off. Yeah, it's one of those things. Usually when you put a tab in a slot, you glue both sides, right? Okay. So anyway, still wiping out that glue, and I realize, hey, I don't need it on that side. And what do? I pick the glue up and I put it right back on there. And then I'm like, oh man, what am I thinking? Okay, so I wipe it off again, and this time I don't put glue back on the top again. Yay! Okay, so yeah, watch your slots and your tabs when you're gluing. That's all I get to say. Don't do a me. So yeah, anyway, now I've got that together, the seat part, and showing you that. It's looking good, I think. I really like that color. And so now I'm going to glue the top, and I was about to put the glue in those the spots where the top slips into, and I was like, no, I better get a toothpick. So I left you just for a minute to go get a toothpick. So now that I've obtained said toothpick, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on it, and I'm just going to put that glue down into those little slots there where the back is going to fit. Making sure I get them covered with the glue. And now I'm just taking the back, and it's like, oh, yep, got a tab down there. So, more glue on the toothpick. And yes, Cheryl, this time it's okay to glue both sides of your tab. Alright, so we're putting it together now. I'm slipping that down in there. And I want to make sure that I get it pushed down right. I did not glue the sides of the back. I don't think it's going to be necessary. So I got that in, and I'm just wiping off excess glue that I don't want showing. Making sure I get the back, all the little things around the little slots up on top. So there, yeah, it's all glued together. It is really sturdy. I don't think this thing is going to come apart. So there, I'm just showing it to you. Looking good. I am really pleased with this. So my seat and stuff are just a little bit sticky, so we're gonna wait till it dries. And the paint is now dry, and it does look like a leather, which I'm really pleased about. I like that. I'm liking the look of it. I'm liking the color. And so now I'm going to put another coat of Mod Podge on, because leather, some of it kind of has a very slight sheen, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it has something. And so I'm putting it on, and I'm putting it a little heavier around the sides than I am, like, you know, in the middle of the back, because you would lean back against it and there'd be some wear there. So some of that, would be worn off a little bit. And so that's what I'm doing. And I do the same thing with the seat. I put a little more to the outside. I put a little less to the middle and the front, because your legs are going to rub the front. So probably not on an old chair going to look as good as, a new one. So that's what I'm going for here. Just trying it out, see if it works. And it did. It worked pretty good. Excuse me, we've got colds here. Rob's got a really bad summer cold, and I've got one, but I don't know, I can't tell if it's getting worse or getting better, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, so now I am super excited because I can finally glue these little pieces onto the chair. Whoops. And you don't know how excited I am at this point, because I'm seeing if what I imagined, you know, if it's gonna be like how I imagined it. So put a pretty good layer of glue on, and I don't want it coming back up. I want this thing to last, because in the end, I'm extremely pleased with the way it came out. So wiping off a little of the excess there, and when I cut out the seat back portion up on top, I forgot that those arm things extended all the way up. I wasn't, you know, like it's me, I wasn't thinking. And so it was a little too wide up there. So I just kind of bent the seat back cushion part. I just kind of bent it around those. And honestly, on the chair, it looks like it was supposed to have been made that way. So that worked out just fine. It wasn't a problem. It did crack the paint a little bit, but that's okay too, because it's an old chair and you are going to have some wear on it. So that worked. And now I'm just gluing the seat in. And again, I'm using quite a bit of glue, but I really want this thing to last. So there it is, and I am at this point just ecstatic, because this chair is looking exactly like I wanted it to, for once. So now I'm just wiping off some extra glue that I don't want, you know, showing or coming through. And yeah, it's just more than I could have hoped for, because it is looking exactly like I envisioned it. And I know that the color of the leather is, you know, looking close to the color of the chair, but when I hold it up, you can see the difference in it. And so yeah, but I'm just over the moon with this, because I really like it. So then I decided I was going to do a wash, and guys, I took that syringe old one we had for cat medicine, and I thought, well, I'll just fill that with water and put it in that thing. And when I did it, you know how syringes will stick, it stuck, and then it shot out in there, and pooh, I had paint water all over everywhere. So I'm just going like on the back of the chair, I'm aging it more toward the middle, you know, where your back would rest when you're sitting there. Just giving it just a hint of grungy, not too bad, not too much. And I'm just trying to do it where I think, you know, a person's back would be against the chair a lot. And it worked out. I mean, it's not real noticeable, and I didn't want it glaring, you know, in your face, but so now I'm just doing between the seat and the back, and I'm going to do the same thing with the seat, where I'm just going to make that middle part a little darker, because, you know, that's where someone would sit, and also down over the front where legs would rub on it, you know, stuff like that, get rubbed up against. So yeah, I didn't want a lot, but I just wanted just enough, just a tiny bit, and I think I did pretty well with that. And then I'm just gonna take and just kind of, I had a couple spots where it was puddling in those little indents, and so just kind of wiping that up a little bit. Didn't want that. So yeah, I am really happy with this. So yeah, there it is, showing it to you. And I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making this chair. I hope that each and every one of you has a great week, and I thank you so very much for joining me. I am so happy to have all of you. Look at this with a little wool throw over it. And yeah, it's just so cute. It's just so homey. So yeah, anyway, have a great week, guys. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.